Remember when comics used to be good? Hey guys, it's the Comic Relief Crusader here. Yeah, I have been busy and I've been trying to catch up with a lot of stuff. But with the time that I did have trying to relax, I've been reading a lot of comics, and I've been reading a lot of the latest comics that have come out. And God, trash. It's a lot of it. A lot of it is trash. Remember the good old days when you had creators like Jack Kirby or Bob Kane or Will Eisner or Art Spiegelman, and most of these creators would just tell stories just to fascinate and let your mind wander throughout the entire universe of what they created and what they wrote. Tales of galaxy spanning quests and heroes that would be at conflict with others doing heroic deeds and even with themselves. Just stories to lose yourself in on a good old afternoon after you would do your homework, or on a lazy Saturday, or on a rainy day when you couldn't go outside. You'd crack open a comic book that you either picked up from the grocery store or the comic book store, depending on where you lived, and you would just lose yourself for hours, just lying on your bed or just at night, maybe under a sheet with a flashlight, and just read tale after tale after tale of stories like Batman or the Fantastic Four or X-Men or the Justice League, or God, even independent comics like back in the 80s when they were really coming out more and more, like say from Mirage Studios, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or God, even Image when it came out in the 90s. When I was getting into my 20s, oh God, and I'm dating myself, where independent comic creators just finally had it with the big two, which would be DC and Marvel, and started their own stuff and let other universes be born into from the minds of independent creators. You could spend a lifetime, and these artists and influences that wrote all these stories, people like I mentioned, Jack Kirby or John Byron or Stan Lee, other people like Art Spiegelman, that really told a tale that came mostly from personal experiences. Jack Kirby, for example, he was in World War II. That's how he was able to tell a lot of stories that involved a lot of heroism. For example, Art Spiegelman, who did Mouse, he told from personal experiences because of World War II, the Holocaust and stuff like that. They were stories that inspired us to become the heroes that we read, and to aspire to greatness and to do great things. And it really made a generation, for the most part, want to become heroic. But you can't have that nowadays. No. Because now everything is essentially clown world and turn on its head. And here's why. When you have artists and writers that are basically controlling the industry that we used to love.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
How that worked out for you. Let's start with Vida Ayala. Black and brown people, queer people, people that are not cis dudes, and any combo of the above. If you are even a little curious about being an associate editor for Marvel, click through. Apply if you are needed. So, if you're not, well, then you're not. Wow, that's rather insulting, isn't it? Because, you're not needed. Ooh, wah. Oh, let's have a look at another one. Mark Waid. Seriously, F off. Please don't ever read my comics again. I don't need money from anyone who attacks me out of nowhere. Wow, you couldn't be more of an insufferable prick now, could you? Or let's take a look at Gary Duggan from Image. Eat a bag of dicks, but nice grammar. Wow. It's a good way to win people over, isn't it? Oh, but wait, there's more.
Don't buy my book.
Let's not forget this. How about shaming people on social media? Or, even better yet, pointing out and shaming others that they work for, co-workers and whatnot, on social media, like Jason Lewis. I know I'm going to regret tweeting this, but there is a quick PSA for those comic bros who are trying to make nice with ComicGate now that the industry is circling the drain. Oh, wow. Just very super mega informative. Thank you. Thank you very much. And let's not forget this piece of work. Remember G.I. Joe for IDW Comics? No wonder they're losing their license and going to be friggin' out the door with the entire Hasbro license. But let's take a work of this human flotsam. Shaming basically people that have something to do with 9/11. Oh good, it's self-centered national tragedy remembrance from people who weren't even anywhere near New York City Day. Wow. Could you just find any more of a way to basically insult a whole slew of people that passed away on 9/11? No? Well, you just did it, and no wonder you're not writing G.I. Joe anymore. Maybe it's just me, but that could have something to do with it.
Don't buy my book.
What happens when you get people like this in the comic industry? Well, I mean, let's face it, things go to pot. You know, you open the gates to a lot of agendas that are going to end up being pushed in Marvel, in DC, in comics in general. And it just starts to ruin everything. You know, like that old saying about the apple, the spoiled apple, basically in the barrel that ruins it for everything. Well, that's what's happening. And that's what's going on in the comic book industry. I mean, for example, one little example. Let's just say in Marvel, right? Now you have, a few months ago, Marvel Boy, where you have to basically go by, his gender pronouns and, you just have to make him the bestest ever. And on top of that, he's basically like, just, he, him, and you have to go by his pronouns because if you don't, well, then, you're just evil. Or, let's just say in DC, you had to bring in stuff like Wonder Woman. Ask me about my feminist agenda because, you have to. Because men evil. Or the worst thing about it is when you start basically switching the fundamentals of characters or just get rid of characters altogether, like say, for example, what they've done to Robin. Robin's bi now. You just have to accept it, right? Why? Why does he have to be bi? Why not just make another character and see how that flies? Why tamper with original characters? Or what they did with Superman. Well, now he's bi too. Or gay. I can't remember which. But sales are tanking because of all these changes. It's crap. Now it's not truth, justice, in the American way, but it's truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Because how dare you mention anything about being proud of the country that you live in. Screw that. You don't matter. As long as the message gets pushed. And how is that doing for the comic book industry? Well, something kind of like this.
Stores are closing at a phenomenal rate. Independent comic sales are down. Mainstream comic sales are down, except for the top 3 or 5 books are up, and everything in the mid list is way down. Numbers that used to be numbers that would get you canceled are now like, no, that's a hit. And independent books making back the cost of doing floppies is like names that should be able to do it no sweat are going into the red on singles, but not coming out until the trades.
True believer, because there is hope out there. And even though mainstream comics are essentially tanking in sales and stuff like that, I mean, you do have manga, which has been selling quite a lot. And there's no doubt about that. But also out there, and a lot of you may not know this, most people that have worked in mainstream comics have started their own titles. Only because they have been ostracized from Marvel and DC and lied about and made out to be the bad guys. And they're producing their own comics, and they're getting back to what made comics fun. Explosions, super heroic heroines and heroes that aren't part of the whole woke agenda. And that's the way it should be. And that's what made comics fun. You have people like, say, for example, Dan Fraga, that used to work way back in Image. I remember him from Image. And he was going to promote a comic way back when, I believe it was Black Flag. Well, he's back again. And he's got his own little campaign going on Indiegogo. And I would suggest you support all of these guys because they are making waves. They are making a difference. Here's Dan Fraga's Black Flag. So check out all his work all over again. He never disappeared. He's still around. Or another one, we have Art THIBERT. You might remember him from back in the Image days when he did black and white. And even before that, I mean, he used to work for Marvel, and I believe he did things for DC. And excellent artist. Love this guy. Because back in the 90s, I mean, he took over, well, I kind of thought, but I was young and stupid. I kind of thought he took over for Jim Lee and had that Jim Lee kind of style, which I enjoyed back then. I won't lie. But then again, you have others that have risen to the occasion, as heroes often do. For example, you have this person out there, Mandy Summers, who I believe has done a few comics, but has the latest one out, Go-supported Gem-Shock, which is another creator-owned comic. And she has lots of backers, and she's producing her own. Or one fellow that I know personally, Liam, who has Conquest Comics, Liam Gray. And he's Australia's #1 crowdfunding creator out there, owner of Conquest Comics, and he's put out quite a few titles himself, and he's done very well, I must say. So, there are people out there, and they're not giving up, and they're putting out content so we don't forget what it's like to be heroes and how to be heroic and to have values. And that's what it's all about. That's all what it's ever been about. Anyway, this is the Comic Relief Crusader. I'll catch you later. Out there in the wild yonder. Hey guys, Comic Relief Crusader here. Guess what? I got a store because I'm such a big nerd. Well, at least right now you can get a bunch of posters and stuff like that because, again, I'm a big nerd. And you can get this mug. It's a nice mug. Was Thanos right? Probably not. But anyway, you want to buy stuff? There it is. Click the link, and that's in the description as well. Buy some stuff. I'll keep you updated on any more merchandise that comes about. It's Comic Relief Crusader. Talk to you guys later.